It says if n is a positive integer and is divisible by 7, so first of all, are all of those numbers in the choices divisible by 7? Are there any of them we can take out? All right, we can take out 69. 49, 56, and 63 are all divisible by 7. But it says, and n is less than 70. What is the greatest possible value? So out of the 3 left, what's the greatest possible value that's less than 70? 63. That's it. That one wasn't too challenging. I'm hoping you guys got the question that was similar to that correct. Hey, how do we find the volume of a box? 3 times 4 times 5. Length times width times height. What's 20 times 3? 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 3. What is that, everybody? 60. All right. Easy enough. All right. Now, this one may require a little bit more work. It says Blair's average, or mean, on 2 physics tests is 7. What should Blair score on the next test to have an overall average of 8? So there's some different ways that you could do this, but how do you find the average of a set of numbers? All right, say that a little bit louder, because that's right. All right, so whenever you're finding the average of 2 numbers, you add them up and divide by 2, right? If you're finding the average of 3 numbers, you add them up and divide by 3. If you're finding the average of 4 numbers, you add those up and divide by 4. So let me split my screen for just a second. And let's see. I'll just go this way. All right, so if you are finding the average between 2 numbers, and what did they say the average of 2 numbers was 7? So what that is telling us, whatever we divided by 2, we got 7. The average of 2 tests is 7, and you guys can't see that, can you? Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, so whatever we're dividing by 2, we get 7. What is this something? 14. So that means we don't really know what the test scores are. We just know that the first 2 test scores added up to 14. So we know 14 plus something divided by 3. What did we want the new average to be? All right, what divided by 3 gives me 8? All right, so what would, if the whole thing adds up to 24, what's this score have to be? 10. And so that's how we would answer that one. Do you guys remember doing a question like this on Friday? Or similar to?
I think it was median on Friday.
You know, say this is actually like it's just a different version of the test. All right, now on this one, we have done this. We are distributing. All right, so first of all, what is 4x times x? So the 4x here times the 4x here, what does that give us? Somebody, all right, 4x squared. There's only 2 choices that have 4x squared. What are those? All right, B and D. So we know that we're going to have to do a little bit of work here. All right, so we've got 4x plus 2, x plus 1. So the first thing we do is we distribute the 4x. So we get 4x squared plus 4x. Then we distribute the 2 second. 2x plus 2, and then those combine. And so the correct answer is B. But just remember, on these, we distribute twice. I want you guys to do this one on your own. All right, this is an order of operations. Try this one on your own. I'm gonna say, oh, those are sharp, okay.
This one.
You say we can't forget order of operations. We have to do what's inside the parentheses first. But before we go over this, what do you guys think the answer is? A, B, C, or D? You say A, B, C, or D? All right, I'm hearing lots of C's. So I want to make sure we all know how to find that number. I think knowing that number is key to getting this question right. What does 2 to the 4th power mean? Does it mean 8? Doesn't mean 2 times 4. It means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. Now we can take 16 divided by 2, because that's inside the parentheses. So we've done our parentheses. We had to do the exponent first because it was inside the parentheses. So we've solved what's inside the parentheses. So now, do I subtract or do I divide next? Now say, if you marked B, I think you subtracted first. So on this one, you want to do 8 divided by 8 first. So then it's 2 minus 1. And so the correct answer is 1. All right, this one we're just simply solving the equation. So we would distribute. So you guys can just see, we would get 3x minus 12 equals 18. Add the 12 over to get 30. And divide and get 10. I have a feeling that all of you guys can solve one-step equations. I'm not going to go over that one in depth. Okay, I like this question a lot. All right, it gives us a table. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. All right, it tells us the number of fishing poles and then the number of scouts owning this number. What would be the mode? So in this set, some people own 0 fishing poles. Some of them own up to 6. But what was the most common owned? Let's say the 0 fishing poles because 7 scouts owned 0. And so on this one, the mode is 0. That is the most common out of these 3. Between 0 and 3, 0 is the most common. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. Now, do you guys know how to check this one? It says a line passes through 1, -2, which cannot be the equation of the line. So if I give you an ordered pair, and I'm going to zoom over so I can do some of this work on here. All right, if I have an ordered pair, which coordinate is the x? The -1 or the 2? -1 is the x, 2 is the y. If you want to know if something is a solution, you simply just plug them in. And if the equation checks out, if it works, then it's a solution. So let's look at that first choice, y equals 1 minus x. Where I see a y, I'm going to plug in my -2. And where I see an x, I'm going to plug in -1. So for that first choice, is 2 equal to 1 minus -1? Does that work? Guys, this is a yes or a no question. Does this work? Is 2 equal to 1 minus -1? You'll say, what happens when you subtract a -1? Now, this turns into a positive. 2 negatives make a positive. So is 2 equal to 1 plus 1? Yes, so that one works. So now let's try the second choice, y equals x plus 1. We're going to plug in a 2 where there's a y. We're going to plug in a -1 where there's an x. Does that work? Is 2 equal to -1 plus 1? No, because this is 0. This doesn't work, so there's your answer. So on that one, you didn't have to go through every single equation. Now, if you went through every one, the other two would have worked. But if you're just checking to see if it's a solution, you can take the point and just plug them in. Now, where is the one everybody was asking me about? Really quick, we add powers. So what am I missing? 2 plus what gives me 11? 9. Oh, let's see. 3 plus 3 is 6. There we go. Oh, I like this question. All right, this one says that a rectangle cut in half, I want these ads to go away. And I hope it doesn't make me start over. Oh, it does. Okay, it says a rectangle that is cut in half to 2 squares. So what does that mean? So a rectangle cut in half into 2 squares. So we start out with a rectangle, it's getting cut in half. And it says each one of these has an area of 25. So if a square has an area of 25, what are the sides of the square? No, the whole area of the square is 25. So what would the sides be? So if one of these squares, the area is 25. Don't we get that from length times width? All right, so it means that these are each 5. So what this is telling us is that this is 5 and that's 5, and then on the same side, this one's 5 and that one's 5. So each one of these little pieces is 5. And it says, what's the perimeter of the original rectangle? How do you find perimeter? Do we multiply or do we add for perimeter? We add. So once you know those side lengths are 5, so this is telling us the original rectangle had a length of 5 and a width of 10, because whenever we split it up into 2, it became 5 and 5. So we are adding 10 plus 10 plus 5 plus 5, which is 10, 20, 25, 30. And there we go. Oh, let's see. Which one can't be concluded? Oh, that's true. Oh, that one's okay. All right, I feel like you guys could do this one by yourself. If we want to simplify this square root, we've done this with the quadratic formula a ton. So if we want to simplify this, we have to add what's inside first. What is 125? Or, yeah, 169. 25 plus 144, what's the square root of that? 13. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Now say, I just guessed. That is not what I wanted. Maybe it was on the day before. Okay. This is the thing that I wanted to make sure. This was the one that every class period, somebody asked me about. It was this. Did anybody know that you could have punctuation in math? Okay. How many of you guys remember seeing this question? Either on Thursday or Friday. I don't remember which day it was. I thought it was Friday, but maybe it was Thursday. So this is actually something that I teach in my statistics class, and we obviously do a lot more with it in AP Stats, but it is an intro to statistics. So if I have, it's telling us how I can make 6 different how many combinations I can make with 6 different things. So on this, anytime you have a factorial, that is actually telling you to take that number and you're going to multiply 6 and then the next number down and the next number down all the way to 1. That's all that means. So when you see that exclamation point, that actually in math means factorial. And so what that tells you to do is to take 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So I'm just going to multiply little pieces together. We all know 6 times 5 is 30. We know this. What's 4 times 3 times 2? 24. And 24 times 3 is 72. So then add a 0. And it's 720. So some of you told me you guessed on this one and got it right. So what this is telling us is if I have 6 different things to pick from, let me see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, I want everyone to look at me real quick. All right, I have 6 different markers. All right, if I want to pick these markers in a certain order, how many choices of markers do I have for the first? How many choices do I have to pick from at this moment? 6. All right, I have 6. All right, so let's just say I pick this one and it goes away. How many choices do I have for the next option? 5. How many do I have for the third option? 4, then 3, then 2, and then on my last one I only have 1 choice. So this is a way that we can show when you have lots of different options to pick from. So it's just whatever the number is down to 1. So I want to ask you guys, what would 4 factorial mean? That would mean 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24, times 1, that's just 24. Now, what would 8 factorial mean? 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then you would multiply all of that out. But I just wanted to show you guys what that meant because I have a feeling that you will see that tomorrow if you're testing. Tomorrow is a study hall if you aren't testing. because it kind of wiped out. This class didn't have as many, but it wiped out my 4th hour completely. I think I only have 2 people in here 4th hour tomorrow because everybody in 4th hour is doing one of the tests. So, no, tomorrow is a study hall. You guys probably have the more sophomores in any class. My upperclassmen are all in the afternoon. All right, so I had one more test that I wanted to look at. That wasn't the question I wanted to do. All right. What about this question? It says, which following is not a factor of 90? What does that mean?
What can't be multiplied to equal 90?
All right, which one of these numbers cannot be multiplied to 90? So an easy way to check these is just to divide by each one of these numbers. Can you take 90 divided by 5 and get a whole number?
Yep.
How do you know that without even doing the math? It ends in a 0, so we know that 5 is a factor. All right, what about 6? 90 divided by 6. How many times does 6 go into 9? With 3 left over, or 6 with 3 left over. How many times does 6 go into 30? All right, so do you like how that answer's set up? When you take 90 divided by 6, it tells you the answer's 15. So then that means that 15 is a factor. So the only one that wouldn't work is 12. Oh, I don't want that one. Oh, I like this number, or I like this question. All right, so we just talked about means earlier with averages. It says the sum of 7 numbers is greater than 140 and less than 210. So what this is telling you is that this number is in between 140 and 210, and it shouldn't have the or equal to. It should just be less than. So the number is in between these two. It says what could be a possible mean? So you guys told me earlier to find the average, you add them up and divide by 7, right? So these are the numbers we get when we add them up. So what happens to these numbers if I divide them by 7? What's 140 divided by 7? 20. And 210 divided by 7? So it says which one could possibly be an average? It's got to be in between 20 and 30. What's the only one that does that? There we go. Ooh, this is a good question. All right, it says a watch rotates 30 degrees every hour. And then it wants to know how many rotations does the hour hand make in 6 days. So it rotates 30 degrees every hour. All right, how many hours are in a day? 24 hours in 1 day. So we would multiply this, right? So this tells us that we've done this earlier. All right, it tells us that it's 720 degrees in a day. Sorry, I forgot I was. So 30 degrees in an hour, 24 hours in a day. And that tells us that it rotates 720 degrees in a day. How many rotations is that? What's a complete rotation, by the way? 360. So 360 is one rotation, so how many rotations is 720? Yeah, so this actually means 2 rotations per day. So then it wants to know how many rotations does it make in 6 days? 12. And does it make sense that the hour hand makes 2 rotations in a day? From 12, so from midnight to noon it makes a rotation, and then the hour hand makes another rotation in the like an AM rotation and a PM rotation for a day. So even if you aren't okay with like multiplying to get your degrees and knowing how many degrees are in a rotation, I mean, just think about that. An hour hand makes an AM rotation and a PM rotation. So that's 2 per day times 6 days is 12. Oh. I don't like that question. That's not what I wanted. 4, 9, -2. Oh, I like this question. All right, the first 4 terms are in a sequence. What is the 6th term? If you guys look, what is the pattern between these numbers? So 3, 6, 11, 18, and then the sequence is going to continue. Do you guys see a pattern there? What is it?
That plus 2 every time.
No,
like 3, 5, 7.
All right, so this one is plus 3, that one's plus 5, that one's plus 7. So then what would this next number be?
27.
Oh, well, yeah, but you would add 9, right? So that would be 18 plus 9 is 27. Then how much do you add the next time? So the next number would be? And then the next time we add 13, so what would that be? 51. So it says what's the 6th term in this sequence? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 38. Oh, let's see. Oh, this is a good question. Jill needs to buy 9 soda bottles for a party. Some of you that are testing, have your heads down. That's not okay. Donovan, wake up. Donovan. All right, so this next question, it says, Jill needs to buy 9 bottles of soda for a party which 12 people attend. How many bottles would she need to buy where 8 people are attending? This is a middle school thing. 9 bottles for 12 people. And I want to know how many bottles for 8 people. So we're going to solve this. 9 over 12 equals x over 8. How do we solve that? You guys really not know how to solve that? Yeah. Cross multiply. 12x equals 9 times 8, which is 72. So x is 6. All right, and then I want you guys to look at this question. You probably didn't even have to know how to solve this to do this. All right, we're buying 9 bottles for 12 people. So if the party is going from 12 people to 8 people, are we going to buy more or less bottles? Do you guys think that if we know how much we're buying for 12 people, are we going to buy more or less for 8 people? Less. How many numbers up there are less than 9? Well, there's 2. But if you look at that, 8 is almost too close to 9. So you could probably do an educated guess like, oh, we probably want to buy 8 is almost the same number as 9, and we're decreasing by a lot more people than that. So, and you can also think about this. 9 over 12 reduces to, if you divide that by 3, 3/4, which is, well, 6/8. You could think about that as equivalent fractions too. 9/12 is really 3/4, and we want to know 8ths, and we know that those are all equal fractions. There's all kinds of different ways that you could have thought about that question. Now, how come we didn't have a little factorial on any of these? Yeah, so I don't like that question. All right, so I am actually done for today, but I want you guys to know a couple of things. Use your best judgment on these types of tests. You don't get penalized. Like, if you answer a question, you get it wrong, it doesn't you're going to get the same points by answering wrong as you do leaving it blank. So don't leave anything blank. Don't spend too much time on one question. And if you don't know a formula, use your best guess, because a lot of the times your gut is usually right. So just go with it. I know you guys all have common sense. I see you guys on a daily basis. But just make sure that you have a pencil. I think that's all you'll need is a pencil.